What's better than watching a bunch of ridiculously rich white people exploit their privilege when dealing with law enforcement? Watching those same ridiculously rich white people dismantle each other through hubristic idiocy and an abundance of self-confidence. The Perfect Couple is now on Netflix. It's a limited series murder mystery, but will you be able to tolerate the characters? When a lavish wedding ends in disaster before it can even begin, with a body discovered in Nantucket Harbor hours before the ceremony, everyone in the wedding party is suddenly a suspect. This limited series, it has a pretty stacked cast with Nicole Kidman, Hewson, Liev Schreiber, Dakota Fanning, Jack Reynor, and Michael Beach. Now there are a bunch of other players as well, but these tend to get the main focus for the narrative. Now it may have seemed a bit hyperbolic to open the review the way that I did. Truly, though, this group of people that we meet are entitled and snobbish, and they behave as though the planets are revolved just around them. I mean, just about everybody is instantly unlikable, save for a few. The entire 6 episodes focus on an unfortunate event right before a wedding. You know, murder, it just tends to put a slight damper on things. But so many of the characters are more perturbed at how inconvenienced they are by the cops not allowing them to leave the island or even evade questioning. Now, it might seem counterintuitive to have so much of the cast be instantly undesirable, but this is played up for a healthy dose of dark comedy and satire. Now, we as the audience clearly know this family, headed by Nicole Kidman and Liev Schreiber, are just terrible. I mean, money has corrupted any values or morals they might have ever had, leaving them to only have the shell of a caring or concerned persona. And they're all more preoccupied with the inconveniences of the investigation, or with sunning themselves at the pool. I mean, anything trivial that makes them feel important. And this is where we can applaud the actors for crafting and then sticking to their loathsome personas. Nicole Kidman is the matriarch of the wealthy family, and she rules with a mixture of snide remarks, witchy attitudes, and passive-aggressive mannerisms. At no point during the show did I even feel the slightest bit of sympathy for her, which I think is saying something because we find out things about her that normally would make her a very sympathetic character. Here, nope, she's one of them that I just love to hate the most. Now, I've been a fan of Jack Reynor ever since I saw him in Sing Street, and here, he's such a D-bag. I mean, he's expertly epitomizing the desperate and sad husband. He's that toxic macho persona, someone who puts on a big front, but in reality is a loser in just about every area of his life. Now, I do appreciate how he brings some decent levity and comedy to certain moments, sometimes through witty remarks, but other times just simply out of exasperation that feels incredibly natural and real. Dakota Fanning plays Raynor's pregnant wife, and she's a conniving little bee. I loved to hate how catty she was, especially towards any of the other women in the men's lives, except of course for Nicole Kidman. I mean, the dynamic between Fanning and Kidman, it was entertaining, mostly because of how sad the reality of their relationship was. Fanning was always doing her best to impress her mom-in-law, but never quite met the unrealistic expectations. And then we've got Hewson. Now, she's the bride-to-be and is excellent in the role. She's one of the characters who we can actually root for and be concerned with. She's not part of the rich family, and she clearly doesn't fit in with so many of their norms. But the humanity that she brings to the story makes for a wonderful contrast to the utter greed and pretentiousness that she's marrying into. And just a side note, while I've seen Hewson in several things, I only just found out that she's the daughter of U2's Bono. So if you didn't know that, there you go. New fun fact. Liev Schreiber and Michael Beach have smaller roles, but are still pivotal to the plot and the storytelling. They each contribute an awkwardness that stems from not fully being comfortable with interactions outside of their social circles. And for as much as Schreiber is a charmer, he's also very slimy. Sometimes the fool, too, bringing to light certain facts and ideas that may not otherwise be known. Now, for me, outside of Hewson, the other massive standout in this is Donna Lynn Champlin, who plays a police detective who just can't with these rich people. The level of sarcasm and snark that Champlin delivers, it's pure gold. These interactions are made all the more enjoyable thanks to the masterful facial expressions that she couples with her responses. There's also an expert level of timing to how she speaks, always waiting one beat longer than expected before dropping something dry, biting, or hilarious. And she's certainly a fish out of water when it comes to the crazy rich, but where she's not out of her element is with the investigating of crimes, following the minor clues that evade most everybody else. And with the dark humor and the satire of the show, a good social commentary is also woven throughout. It's never preachy, but definitely pointed. In one scene, when the police are interviewing the family and the household staff, the housekeeper for the family remarks about how one of the wedding guests makes their own bed, like a poor person, illustrating how even those who work for the family have adopted their snobbery that comes from preposterous amounts of wealth. I mean, the housekeeper is basically a servant, but still maintains an air of superiority for those that don't live within the posh, sprawling mansion. I mean, several comments like these are woven throughout, picking fun at the ideals that some have that only make them superior in their own minds. Now, for the mystery aspect of this, I thought it was executed well. I had a couple of suspects, some I dismissed early on just because they seemed too obvious or maybe even cheap, and then a few I had solid arguments for. And I was wrong. I mean, I love it when a mystery can stay so well obscured. Now, I do think the mystery elements do sometimes take a backseat or maybe even get lost in the shuffle as we watch all of the interactions take place between the family members. But the drama that ensues, it's highly engaging, and it kept me wanting to watch the next episode. Not only for more clues, but to see what terrible thing a character might say or do that would be coming. And with some of those tangents and distractions to the main plot, a few were included for misdirection, but when revealed, came across more gimmicky and less believable than they should have. And I can't get into specifics just due to spoilers, but certain character revelations felt contrived and almost like an afterthought inclusion, rather than something that was part of the plot all along. As one person that I'm thinking of leads to one of those dum-dum-dum moments, and it was so lackluster and then shoehorned in that I just would have preferred it not to be included at all. But outside of a few irritants from some story diversions, The Perfect Couple manages to execute a twisty and convoluted mystery containing clever misdirections and false leads. The performances capture the disgusting and off-putting nature of the ultra-rich, poking fun at the pride this family displays externally, while internally their house is a raging dumpster fire. Nicole Kidman and Hewson shine as troubled and conflicted women, trading barbs while never quite realizing their impending mutual destruction. If you enjoy a story filled with intrigue and questions, and you also like to watch the privileged devour their own, The Perfect Couple, it's a great quick binge. There's sex, a little nudity, ton of profanity, and some violence. I give The Perfect Couple 4 out of 5 couches. So have you seen any decent mysteries lately? Let me know what you watched in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me. And also, my shirt says eat cheese and sin. Ho ho ho.